If you want the full Pass the Orcs experience, you need to be listening in the playlist.
Check the description of this soundbite, click the link, and there you'll find the playlist. Turn shuffle off and enjoy. We're in. Hello, we are back. PTA, Howls, Nadia, MCM, Backchat Studio, Backchat Victoria, MCM House, the chairs we are sitting on. If you're new here, head back to the start, all the way back to 001. If you'd like to look at the visuals, at pta.listen on YouTube, on Instagram, it's probably the TikTok handle. I haven't really grasped that one. CJ Part 2, Tom, lock us in. Where did we leave?
Last week, we were graced by a really cool story about a young man's journey into Australia from sort of Sudan as your parents and into Ethiopia. And we finished right off with getting drafted and becoming a Category B rookie as a 17 or 18-year-old. And then you've sort of matched that and given us some context and then played some amazing tunes. Talk to me about you enter the Hawks Footy Club as the Cat B rookie. How is it? First impressions, take us there.
I remember obviously getting drafted, and
yeah, even that day, man.
I remember getting drafted, and so it was the night the national draft was the night before. Obviously, flat you weren't drafted, but going in the draft, I was like, well, if I don't get drafted by anyone, the best part about it is I'm able to be in an AFL environment regardless. And that eased my mind a lot. I was able to just really relax pretty much the whole night. And the next day came in, I was able to be in the club to meet everyone. I'm talking like Jordan Ruffhead, Sean Burgoyne, all these guys that you idolize growing up and stuff like that. So I was able to meet them, and best part about Category B is like it doesn't matter where you're drafted at the end of the day. It's like everyone's there pretty much now to perform and really play as soon as you can.
You're on. You got to crack at it. You're in the mix.
And at the time I was like, look, I believe that I'm better than the first guy that got drafted in this draft right now. I'm just as good. And that's that mindset I had early days. I remember the first 2 to 3 weeks of training, just really training as hard as I've ever trained before, to the point where I had my first OP, which was in the groins of when you're not really used to the load. So I had about 3 weeks where I had to just cool the jets a bit, and just really adapt to the load. And I remember I had to do a lot of injury prevention stuff just so I can get used to the management, the load management and stuff like that. So it was very tough early on, just really trying to grasp what it's like to be in an AFL environment. And yeah, just really what it takes to be an AFL player.
And who were the people in the club in that first sort of 6 months that you took to, and that were the Vandermeers of like that environment? Because it would have been like, again, completely different to even your idea of like what football environments are like.
Man, so the guys that we got drafted with, Warps, James Warple, Dylan Moore, Jackson Ross and Harry Jones were the guys that we all got drafted together. And these were the guys where I formed good relationships with, finishing training and then getting some food after. Because you can imagine like going to an AFL environment with, you all of a sudden you're next to these big dog players. It's like, it gets pretty daunting. So I was able to lean on these younger guys early days to really find my way through and to lean on each other, I guess. We played a lot of box hill together as well. So development together was fucking awesome. Dylan Moore was unreal, still is. James Warple as well. That these guys were here together still since we got drafted, and yeah, I've made really good relationships with these guys, and I'll continue to be close with them.
Did you develop any like training partnerships and relationships? Because like you speak about that draft there, and to me that sounds like a fair draft.
Yeah.
And those guys are really good players, and from another player coming in and having been around you guys in a competitive environment, it's really impressive, and that cropped, whatever happened with that specific draft, like you guys have done really well. What were you doing on the track? What was that relationship like?
Yeah, to be honest, we didn't really have it at the start. Early days, we kind of relied on the older guys to drive standards. And as you can imagine, there was a phase where these older guys were, winning premierships and carrying the club. But then there was a massive phase from, I think might have been 2018 till about 2020 or 2022. In that phase there where it's like there's literally no one, setting standards, and we were the younger guys coming out of there. And it took us a long time in terms of like trying to drive standards and obviously trying to get the best out of ourselves. We wanted to what happened is in the hub was really a reality shock. We were shocking, like I'm talking like as COVID years was tough, obviously not seeing family was tough, but also not performing as well.
We have scrimmages, and that's like 10 on 10.
Yeah, 12 on 12.
Full field.
Yeah,
It's a different thing
insane.
entirely.
Yeah. So we went away from that, and it wasn't until 2020 off season and 2021 preseason, me, Maury, Finn McGuinness, those guys. So the guy that really kickstarted that drive and fierceness within myself and those guys is Sam. I remember a conversation I had with Sam.
This is Sam Mitchell.
Sam Mitchell, yeah. Vividly, he put me into his office. So I see Sam a lot. He's a guy that you can just chat to anytime you want. And I went to his office, just pretty much just talking a bit of smack, and then out of nowhere, he just asked me a question saying, how come you're not playing AFL footy? And at that time, what year was this? 2020. So I was 21. So
about 3 years in the system at that stage?
So yeah, 3 years, roughly around 3 years. So yeah, he asked me a question, how come you're not a regular AFL player? Like, bro, you've got the ability, you've got the, attributes, you should be playing regular, consistent footy. And I mean, like I walked out of that conversation with him, I questioned myself. I was like, fuck, how come I'm not? Like I deserve to be. I walked away from that conversation. He lit a fire within me. Because as a player, that all you need is just one person, especially as a coach, and someone high up in the club like that to really believe in you. And I found that Sam, when he asked me that question, I was like, fuck, this guy really believes in me. How come I don't believe in myself? Like I should be. So I went away from that meeting, and this is obviously going off of just like body sweet, had a really good preseason, training the house down, pretty much, as they say, training the house down. Training
Yes. 1 week at a time type stuff.
1 week at a time. And I literally, every training session, we always talk about like, there's a graph that he always puts up. It's like, you don't know how good you are until you actually get to the top and keep going. And that's when you start to know, okay, I can't do this anymore. Like I found that early days of myself, I was like, okay, I'll be all right. I can just get through this. I'll be all right. But I found that when he really asked me that question, I feel like, fuck, I've definitely got a lot more to give. And turns out I've got a lot more to give. And I had the best year of my career. I really consistent footy, and until this day, it's like I look back to that moment. It's like, he's the guy that really, believed in me to be the player that I am today, and continue to get better every single game.
He has a knack of asking the most simple questions that completely change your perception of things and make you understand like, that's a good question. Like there's an answer to that.
Yeah.
Is there a question he's asked you?
Gosh, there's probably like 100, like honestly 100.
One you can remember?
Mate, honestly, like in the way of, let's even just say ball movement, like, so you can have views on things generally in all parts of life, but like for them to be correct and for you to know they're correct on all subjects, it's like a different thing. You kind of like, you're almost built or are certainly culturally conditioned to be accepting of everyone's views and like agree on your differences. But he has like staunch views on things. And so he has this way of being like, mate, why would you not go out there where all the space is? Why would you not do that? That's like easier for this reason, that reason. And you kind of like, you're answerless. And so when he asks Siege, like, hey, why are you not playing football in the AFL at 21 when you're this? You're like, hang on, there's an answer to that. And it's probably exactly like what I think it is. And it was my ignorance that I couldn't see. And that's what good teachers do.
Yeah.
They like ask questions to bring things to your attention. But he's got a terrific knack of doing that. And it sounds like that's what's made you and the boys spur on some kind of relationship of like, no, you're right, actually, how much like can I give? Like how professional can I be? And what is the reason that we're not like grabbing life by the scruff of the neck and going for it?
Yeah.
And he certainly had that effect on me. There would certainly be a more relevant answer to that in my trade. And I can tell you, I might have talked about it, but he said this thing to me because I always have, since forever, wanted to be a one club player. And he said, he questioned like, do you want to be a one club player so the club knows that you love them and that you contribute to them and so everyone knows as one club player, or like do you want to do it because of like selfishly you want those values? Like you want to be a one club player. Once you realise that you love the club loves you, there's already this great thing there and it's already happened, but you're holding on to this idea of yourself as a one club player and as an ethical, never compromise on that. And it's actually a selfish interest and has nothing to do with it. And through the same line of questioning, it was like, wow, okay, you're right. It's actually my ego that wants me to be this thing and not actually my true intention on what I should do and how I should live my life. And it happens in a second. You're just like sitting there spinning out.
Yeah.
He's done it again. That's why he's such a great coach, I think.
And I find that with coaches like that, there's always coaches that be like, when you don't know the answer, it's like when they ask you a question and you don't know the answer, there's a lot of coaches that try to act like they know the answer. With, as you said, the game plan stuff, as he speaks about, it's like, okay, why wouldn't you just run there? A lot of coaches be like, okay, you run there because of this, that. But it's like, hold on, I don't know the answer, but why wouldn't you? That type of thing?
100%, common sense. And that's the thing that's impressed me so much about the environment. It's common sense. There should be an answer you can derive yourself, and that's the obvious thing that you just say that comes to mind. But again, like most of the time with all questions, it's just silence because everyone's like, there has to be more to this, where it's like, no, there's no more to this. If you can just learn this and like, look how good it is and look what happens if you just run past for a handball or see, look what happens if you just do this. Why can you do that? Why can't you do that? And if there is an answer, which often it's like, no, I can do that. I just wasn't thinking about that. Yeah, no shit, I'll do it. Or if there's like an answer, as in I'm not training hard enough, I'm not applying myself much, my diet's not right, my head's not right, it comes to you within like half a second. You're like, oh shit.
It's so simple, and I've been sitting on that and struggling with it for fucking months.
Yeah.
So like in the first part of this episode, Tom mentioned that, you know, you are the man with the orcs. The orcs has been passed to you. So as you're being asked these questions by Sam Mitchell and you're figuring out how you are, your craft on the field, you're also growing into CJ,
Soyage.
as we know, Soyage as we know it now. What's that musical and that social journey like happening at the same time?
Yeah, I was able to. I was lucky enough to have a teammate, you know, Ben Stratton. He massive music man, famously known for DJing at Revs. If you guys,
yeah,
shout out to Ben Stratton,
mate. Hopeful guest on the show one day, Strats.
Yeah, hell yeah, we'll get that. Hey, we'll get it done.
Please,
I'll get his phone number.
Need your help. Yeah, good.
No, actually, do. I'll send it to you. But I was able to learn a lot from him. So I'd say he passed the ox to me actually. So he was the man with the music before I got there.
I've actually got a Ben Stratton track that's penetrated its way all the way to me in Western Australia. And it's through a buddy of mine, Fresh Cracks Legit. So this is going to blow your mind. No, but Fresh Cracks Legit, great footballer, played for Claremont with me, like my best boy.
Yeah.
And anyway, he got drafted to Hawthorn for a year as a rookie, I'm pretty sure. And so he was the year below sis.
I'll wheel it back in.
Fresh Cracks Legit is a, we talk about him on the show often.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that you'd know that he went and played for Hawthorn for a year. And we won't talk too much more about that. But he come back with this track, Restless, since by Hot Since 84. And it is just a banger. And at the time, I was just like, wow, Ben Stratton must be the coolest man alive. This is that sick.
So he produced the track, is that?
Nah, he showed Crackers the track.
The track.
And then Crackers came home and
There you go.
played it for me. And I was like, what's this? And he said, man, Ben Stratton is the guy with this stuff.
Okay.
So that was your experience.
He's got some good tracks. So the type of music that I kind of, from my draft year and pretty much when I started to listen to a lot of house music, is probably that age, 17 to 18. My early influences, Green Velvet, massive fan of mine. And also Late Night Tough Guy.
Sick.
All these type of guys that really, that solely, that easy. Not that the vocals that go with it aren't really going with the beat. It's just kind of just like in the background. I've been a massive fan of that early days. And obviously as well, like Dom Dollar as well, like in early days, is probably one of my favorites as well for sure.
Well, man, let me give you the aux. Take us back to the time when you first got past it and what you were hitting. And if Matt lets me, we might hear Restless by Hot Since 84.
Oh, man. Yeah, Hot Since 84. This one's out to Fresh Cracks Legit, holding it down in Perth.
Here we are, Siege. It's all yours, bro.